Have you ever had someone look you dead in the eyes and claim your own driveway doesn't belong to you? What if that someone was your neighborhood HOA president, smiling like she was doing you a favor? And how long would you stay silent when community rules turned your peaceful home into their personal playground? The cul-de-sac of Evergreen Meadows, Colorado, looked like the kind of place where dreams came true. Perfectly trimmed lawns, identical beige houses with just the right shade of shutters, and zero tolerance for anything that might offend the HOA's sacred bylaws. I was Ethan Caldwell, 42, civil engineer who spent my days crunching numbers from a home office that the previous board had already fined me twice for. Unapproved signage, they called my tiny brass plaque. Disrupting neighborhood harmony. I paid the fines, kept my mouth shut, and smiled politely while the gossip mill whispered that I was that antisocial tech guy who thinks he's above the rules. Little did they know I was the guy who read every single page of those bylaws like it was my job because one day it would be. Then Karen Whitaker moved into the house at the end of the block. She didn't just arrive, she conquered. Within 2 weeks she'd sweet-talked her way onto the HOA board with homemade lemon bars and a voice like warm honey. "We're all family here," she cooed at the welcome meeting, batting lashes that could slice steel. By month 3 she was president. It started with a letter, elegant stationery, gold-embossed HOA seal, informing me that my long private driveway, the one that snaked 200 feet from the street to my detached garage, was now classified as shared community access. For safety and maintenance, Karen explained in person, standing on my asphalt in her pastel polo like she owned the place. The previous owner let sweet old Mrs. Langley use the first 50 feet to reach her garage. Customary easement, darling. You wouldn't want to be the neighbor who ruins that for everyone, would you? I sipped my coffee, nodded slowly, and said nothing. Inside my find-out file grew one more page. 2 days later another envelope arrived. A special assessment for $3,000 to resurface the shared lane for the greater good of Evergreen Meadows. I laughed so hard my dog tilted his head. Then I watched from my window as Karen, board member Todd, a retired insurance salesman who looked like he'd never met a loophole he didn't like, and a hard-hatted crew gathered at the mouth of my driveway like it was their new favorite picnic spot. "Perfect spot for the paver to stage," Todd announced, waving a clipboard like a royal decree. Karen beamed. "Think of the property values, Ethan. We're all in this together." I stepped outside, still in slippers, voice calm as a mountain lake. "Morning, folks. Here. This is my private driveway. It says so. Survey from when I bought it says so. And the previous owner's kindness to an elderly neighbor doesn't magically rewrite county records." Karen's laugh tinkled like breaking glass. "Oh, Ethan, you're adorable. Anything touching the cul-de-sac is HOA jurisdiction. Read Section 14.2, subsection C. Customary easements for resident convenience. We're upgrading it for free. You should be thanking us." Todd leaned in, oily smile dialed to 11. "Pay the assessment or it gets added to your dues with interest, buddy. Rules are rules." The crew looked uncomfortable, the way people do when they realize they're about to trespass on private land for Karen's ego. I didn't raise my voice and added another dated entry to the file. Let them think I was beaten. Quiet guys like me, we don't explode. We calculate. The next morning the diesel engines woke the whole street. Trucks, paver, crew, ready to turn my driveway into their masterpiece. Neighbors peeked from windows, some already nodding approval because Karen had spent the week telling everyone I was hoarding prime parking. A minivan had already tried to U-turn on my gravel the night before. Its driver shrugged when I asked him to leave. Karen said it's community overflow now. I felt the slow burn of black humor rising, watching grown adults treat my property like a public rest stop because a woman in a pastel polo told them it was fine. I met the foreman at the edge, folder in hand. "One tire touches my asphalt, and your company is looking at a lawsuit that'll make your insurance guy cry." He called Todd through the phone. The crew packed up. Karen wasn't done. Overnight my driveway became the neighborhood's favorite shortcut. Amazon drivers used it like a racetrack. Someone parked a 20-foot boat trailer right across the first 50 feet, because the board approved it. Every polite request to move got the same answer. Karen said it's fine. The gossip intensified. Ethan the bad neighbor. Ethan the rule breaker. Ethan who hated community spirit. I watched it all, sipping coffee, filing every license plate, every timestamp. Satire has never tasted so bittersweet. By week 3 the harassment was art. Karen slapped a violation notice on my door claiming I was obstructing utility access. Todd circulated a petition calling me selfish. My wife Sarah squeezed my shoulder one night and whispered, "They're painting you as the villain while they steal your land. Time to stop being polite." I smiled that slow, cold smile. "Honey, I've been waiting for this." I sent certified cease and desist letters to every board member, complete with my original survey and deed. The response? Another violation notice threatening a lien on my house. Karen's note at the bottom. "We tried to be nice, Ethan. Now it's official." That's when I went shopping for the best surveyor in the state. The man who showed up looked like he'd spent his life correcting other people's arrogance. High-precision GPS, laser levels that could measure a gnat's eyebrow. He walked every inch of my property, drove steel stakes, and when he spread the master plat on my kitchen table his grin matched mine. "Your driveway? 100% yours. Always was." Then his finger slid to the eastern boundary. "But look here, the HOA's precious community garden. The one they spent $45,000 on last year with irrigation, rose bushes and that hideous iron fence? It's sitting 4.5 feet on your land. Every inch." I felt the dark laugh bubble up on my dirt. And she had no idea. I called Karen that same afternoon, voice heavy with fake defeat. "I've thought about it. Tired of the stairs. I'll stay out of the way." I could hear her ego inflating through the phone. "Oh, Ethan, I knew you'd come around. Smart man. We'll make that lane shine for the whole neighborhood." Click. The trap was set. Monday dawned bright and blue. Perfect Colorado weather for watching entitlement implode. At 7:45 Karen and Todd stood at the cul-de-sac like they were cutting a ribbon on their personal victory. Trucks rumbled in, hot asphalt smell filling the air. Neighbors gathered, phones out, ready to film the community win. Then 3 more vehicles pulled up behind them, my surveyor with neon pink flagging tape, a sheriff's deputy for civil standby, and me, folding lawn chair, fresh coffee, manila folder resting on my knee like a loaded gun. I sat exactly 6 inches inside my line and watched confusion ripple. The surveyor didn't speak. He just started hammering steel stakes with bright pink flags straight down the legal boundary, slicing my driveway off from the street like a surgeon. One stake went right through the shadow of that boat trailer Karen had encouraged. Todd's face turned the color of overripe eggplant. "What the hell is this, Caldwell?" Karen's voice hit a pitch usually reserved for fire alarms. "We have a crew. We have a contract." I didn't stand. And a copy of the certified survey. "Morning, gentlemen." Absolute legal line. "Touch 1 inch on the other side and you're trespassing on private property without permit. Deputies here to make sure the paperwork's clean." The foreman scanned the map, looked at the tape, looked at the deputy's slow nod, and started loading his gear. "Lady, I'm not losing my license because you can't read a plat. We're gone." Karen screamed something about 15 years of use. I stood up, pulled the second document. "Speaking of use, Karen, page 4 might interest you. Your beloved garden fence? 4.5 feet on my land. Irrigation, roses, the whole Instagram-worthy eyesore. You've got 30 days to move it, all of it, or I bring in a bulldozer and bill the HOA for every penny. And while we're at it, since you've been spending resident dues maintaining land you don't own, I've already requested a full county audit of your books. Embezzlement has a nice ring to it, don't you?" The silence was deafening. Started murmuring. The boat trailer owner's jaw dropped. Todd looked like he might faint into the hot asphalt. Karen's perfect smile cracked like cheap foundation. "This is outrageous. We'll fight this in court." I took a slow sip of coffee. "Go ahead. Everything with the assessor. Good luck explaining to the neighbors why their dues paid for my backyard roses." The next 30 days were pure dark comedy. The clink of iron fence panels being dismantled by the same people who swore it was a monument to community pride sounded sweeter than any HOA potluck. Karen tried every loophole, hired a lawyer who lasted exactly one phone call with my shark of an attorney. On day 29 she called, voice thin as tissue paper. "We'll sign the stipulation." Clerical error. I leaned back on my porch, watching her struggle to back that same boat trailer out in a sweaty 5-point turn because my new cedar fence now sat exactly on the line. "Karen, I don't lie for people who tried to steal my driveway. You can explain your own clerical errors to the tax man." The paperwork recorded on a Tuesday. The HOA officially admitted my driveway was private, always had been. The garden was relocated 4.5 feet back, leaving a beautiful strip I immediately planted with wildflowers that would make any HOA compliance officer cry. At the next special meeting the neighbors turned on their own board like wolves who'd finally smelled blood. Todd was voted out in a landslide. Karen, unable to handle the glares or the complicated turns required to park her own boat, listed her house 3 months later. These days the cul-de-sac is quiet. New cars stop at the entrance, read the bright private road, no turnaround sign I installed, and politely back out. The new board sends polite emails asking permission before they trim a single branch near my line. And every evening I sit on my porch with Sarah, coffee in hand, watching the pink flags long gone but the memory still fresh. Boundaries aren't just lines on paper. They're the difference between living in peace and living under someone else's delusions of grandeur. HOA Karens thrive on fear and fake politeness, but they crumble the second someone brings receipts and a really good surveyor. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't loud. It's watching an empire of beige rules and borrowed authority collapse under the weight of its own lies. If you've ever been painted as the villain for simply owning what's yours, remember: stay quiet, stay documented, and when they swing first, swing back with steel stakes and county stamps. Property rights aren't up for debate, and neither is your driveway.